Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. And well, first of all, I got a couple new subscribers in the last day. So the 2 in 1 day is actually pretty good for me, which shows you that I've got a ways to go to reach, the monetization level, which I hope to reach someday, and maybe make a buck or two off of this. Actually, a penny or two would be an improvement because right now I'm not making anything. But anyways, I love to do it, and I do it for all of you right now, even if I never make a dime, which increasingly seems like it might be the case. Anyways, on to today's subject. Oh, so welcome new subscribers. And if you could get more of your friends to subscribe, that would really be great. Now on to today's subject, which is taking us to Europe. Interesting developments, I would say historical developments. I would say really very historical, very important developments in Europe. And in a way, they relate to the United States, to Donald Trump. There are still people who are treating, well, especially the Democratic Party. I mean, they've been in denial ever since 2016, when Trump won in 2016, but even more in 2024, when, 4 years of Biden, and American people overwhelmingly reelected Donald Trump, and they are still treating, what did we do wrong? It's some kind of fluke and just dumb luck, and next election will be different. But I see a historical trend. Now, one of the main aspects, I mean, you have, which I'll talk about someday, his tariff policies, Trump's, which I think are a mistake. But, or he started out okay, but he's handling it wrong now. But I don't want to get off on that track. That's a whole other vlog. But the death of the people are not afraid now to speak out against diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI policies, and you see these universities, Harvard and others, Brown, and just paying these enormous fines and having to get rid of their diversity and equity and inclusion departments that they've set up. And actually, I have to make a correction. Those fines, I think, are to fight anti-Semitism. But that's another thing which they were not doing when Biden was president. Then you have the idea, especially immigration, closing the borders, this whole idea of something is wrong with nationalism, being proud of your own country. There should be no borders at all. That's what some of these people believe. And I could go on, just that the country is, I was going to say, the country is moving to the right. I think the country, America, has always been, at least in my lifetime, a center-right country, whereas in the center and the right, but you had these very far left policies, and you're seeing a very strong reaction against it in this country. Now, Europe is very, very, very left. The European Union, they have they've thrown their borders open to just let these unvetted immigrants coming into the country, and it's really hurting them. Now you have, importing allowing into the country unvetted a lot of Muslims from countries that do not have our values, and they are finding that there is, which shows the difference between Europe and the United States, because we have Arab immigrants, Muslim immigrants in the United States, and I had Muslim friends back in New York when I was living there. I lived there. I moved to Tennessee, where I am now, 2019. If you didn't tuning in for the first time, didn't know that. And we all get along. I remember taking, I'm a real estate broker, still have my license in New York. And I remember taking my Arab customer, who was a good friend, by the way. He was a friend, and started as a customer. We became close friends, to look at, I did retail leasing, to look at a storefront in the boroughs somewhere, Queens or Brooklyn, and probably Brooklyn. I don't remember exactly, but the landlord was an Orthodox Jew. The guys who dress in black and wear yarmulkes and have the sideburns, payas they're called in Hebrew, but had all that, and my Arab friend, and they got along fine. That's America, all right. But in Europe, it's a lot different. They're having a lot of crime. It's not Europe, actually. Sweden is not, that's Scandinavia. But in Sweden, you're having all these clan wars, neighborhood wars. There are there are grenade attacks. I mean, the violence is really getting bad there. And then in France, you have no-go zones, and what they call them, and England too, that are just solidly Muslim, and they are so hostile. They try to impose Sharia there, which is Islamic religious law, and non-Muslims dare not enter those areas. They think rocks get thrown in them, cars get torched, and so on. So that's why you're seeing, while recognizing a Palestinian state and all that, because they're being pressured by the Muslim minority, which is an interesting contrast with Israel, by the way. I just mentioned the contrast with America, but in Israel, because you're having, I think in France, for instance, I think Muslims now are 10% of the population, and maybe less. The point is that in Israel, the Arabs and Jews get along fine. Arabs are in well, just as you have in England, you have the mayor of London is a Muslim. You have some Muslim mayors in England besides London, but you also have that in Israel. You have Muslim mayors, you have Muslim judges, you have Muslim doctors, you have Muslim, I should say Arab, I guess Arab, but they're almost all Muslims, like 99. There are some Christians, but so Arab slash Muslim. I think 40% of the pharmacists are. Anyways, the point I'm making is that Israel, they are 20% of the population, and it's working fine, but much less than 20% in these European countries, and it's not working fine. And what I want to get to today is the result. This has been going on for decades. I mean, Angela Merkel, she was the former chancellor of Germany, or some people call her, critics call her Germany's second worst chancellor. I leave it to you to discuss, to figure out who the worst chancellor Germany had was. Last name starts with an H anyway, so she's called the second worst. But she said, wir schaffen das, we can do this, or we accomplish this, which means we can throw open the borders and import, just allow all these Muslims to come in. The problem is that they were letting all these people from these countries come in, and Christians too, right? Arab Christians and Arab Muslims, and in these refugee centers, the Muslims were attacking the Christians, and a big problem for them. And the thing is, European Union now, there's essentially no border among all the members of the European Union. So you come into one country and you go anywhere you want, except that Hungary, even though they are required under the EU constitution to allow immigrants just to flood into the country, they're not allowing it, and they're getting a lot of grief from the European Union, from the rest of the European Union. So anyways, the point I want to make is, what is the result of all this? Now, in Europe, they're very far left, always have been, always have been, but what about now, and what about going forward? And again, I refer you back to what's happened in our country, the election of Donald Trump. I predict that the next president will, unless the Democrats really change, and that could be a whole other vlog, that you're going to have a Republican president in 2028. Probably J.D. Vance. People are talking about a J.D. Vance, a Vance Rubio ticket, which would be fine with me. I would rather it the other way around, to be honest. Rubio, Vance, because I think Marco Rubio, he would be a fantastic president. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me. That's what the comment section is for. Or you can agree with me. The comment section works for everybody. But getting now to Europe, I got to share this headline. The Right Stuff, with German AfD party topping opinion poll for the first time. Now, right-wingers lead voter preference in the UK, France, and Germany. So, and actually there's one other country, Austria. In all the four of those countries, those four European countries, well, yeah, I guess they're not in the European Union anymore, but we'll count the United Kingdom, Britain, as Europe. And because they were very far left, they have a very, very far left prime minister right now. The Liberal Party won an enormous victory, but it's changed. That party is now very, 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 very unpopular. And in fact, well, let me put this up. Here is this is the next post, and then some numbers for it. Well, I don't have the numbers, but here we go. Breaking for the first time, the FPO. That would be the Freiheitliche Partei Österreich, forgive me my pronunciation. That's the Freedom Party of Austria. So that's Austria. The RN party is polling first in France. That would be Rassemblement National. Again, forgive my pronunciation. That is National Rally. That is the far right party in France. You have the AfD, that is Alternative für Deutschland, again, forgive the pronunciation, and that is, especially my friend, I have a German friend, close German friend, so forgive me, Jürgen, if you're out there. They are number one in Germany, and Reform UK, that is the Reform Party, they are polling first in Britain. So let me just put this photo up again from the thumbnail, just so you know who these people are. The gentleman on the left, that is Herbert Kickl. He is the head of the Freedom Party of Austria. I'm going to stick to English for now, okay? And which you'll be happy I'm doing after you heard my accent. So he is the head of the Freedom Party of Austria. The second person, that's Elise Vidal. And then on the far right, that is Marine Le Pen. She is the head, but she was barred. Believe this is the point I want to make. One point I want to make. She was accused of corruption, probably falsely, but under the laws of France, because of her conviction or whatever, she is barred from running for office in France for 4 or 5 years, which will conveniently take her past the next election. So I don't remember his name. There's a young man a gentleman who is the one who would be running, but she's really the head of the party. And not picture those three. So here's a separate picture. This is Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage, a close friend of Donald Trump, by the way, he spoke at some campaign rallies. He's been to Trump Tower. He is the head of the Reform Party, and it would be very, very interesting if he is on track right now. They are the number. As I said, the Liberal Party or the Labor Party. I think I forget. There's two parties. I forget which of them was the bigger one, but they're both the left-wing parties. And Keir Starmer, he is the prime minister. His party, whatever it is, won an enormous victory, and that has completely reversed. If the election were held today in England, and I predict when it is held, Nigel Farage will be the Reform Party will be the biggest party. Whether they'll have a majority, I don't know. They may have to ally with another party, probably the Conservative Party. But Nigel Farage will be the next prime minister. So the next time Nigel Farage visits Donald Trump, I think it would, the next election would be while Trump is still president. Farage would be visiting as prime minister, and that would be. That is one press conference, joint press conference. I assume at one time or another there would be one. That is a press conference I would not want to miss. So anyways, the point, just to sum all this up, is that Europe, they're fed up with this. And Hungary, Orban, the prime minister, the president, I forget which, of Hungary, he's very right-wing, and it looks like, Farage, I know, well, all three of those people, all four, including Farage, are running on an anti-open, lax immigration party platform. That is one of their, and tough on crime. That's another thing. No more coddling of criminals, which is also a Trump uh, policy, as we're seeing in Washington, D.C. So that is the point, that it's not just in this country. The whole Europe and the United States, they are getting fed up with liberalism and wokeness, and they are moving to the right. This is very, and I think I can't dismiss that Trump may have been the spark that set this all off, seeing our policies here, seeing his policies here, and inspiring these other parties. And you're seeing, actually now you're seeing in England. England is they are really clamping down on free speech. They arrested and imprisoned a woman for just standing silently, maybe praying, but silently, outside an abortion clinic, just standing there, and they arrested her. They are going after social media. That's another, trying to tell Elon Musk and others to, and Google to police, to delete disinformation and misinformation from their platforms, and we are having a big problem with that. Trump is, well, that's not going to go very far. In fact, they call it DSA, the Digital Services Act, and Canada passed one, and they repealed it about a week later when Trump said, no, 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 no. You're not going to censor America. You're not going to tell American companies what we can put on our platforms. And it's really just an anti-competitive. They just cannot compete with Google and these other countries, and Microsoft too. Even though they're not a social medium, but they're going after these successful American companies. And well, Facebook is one, trying to impose enormous fines if they allow disinformation or misinformation on their platforms, and it's just put lead boots on our large digital companies that are beating the pants off the Europeans, competition-wise. Anyways, as often, I once I get started, I just kind of keep going. So I'm going to end it here. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, as 2 people did in the last 24 hours, I think it was, that would be great. Your comments, always welcome in the comment section below the video, pro or con. And I would really love to hear, in this case, from you Europeans. What do you think? From on the left and the right, what do you right-leaning Europeans think about what is clearly happening in Europe? And I have to throw something else in that I forgot before. So, another digression, forgive me. But you're seeing you're seeing these parties now. The good case, the poster child is the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, which means Alternative for Germany. They keep going. Every election, they win more and more seats, and the German government is trying to outlaw that party, the most popular party in Germany, and accusing them of being neo-Nazis, whatever. But you're seeing the same thing in France, and it hasn't happened in England. But what you are seeing in England, though, you're starting now to see. I guess it's going to be a long digression, and maybe I'll be doing it on a separate vlog. But you're seeing massive protests now. I said, England, the authorities are really clamping down on anybody who criticizes the open immigration policies, or points out that there's a big scandal. There was in Rotterdam, a small town there, a city in England, where you had these Pakistani immigrants were kidnapping and grooming white young girls. You talk about Epstein, sex with minors, grooming these young girls, and forcing them to have sex with Pakistani men. And that went on for years, and the police the British police, the authorities, or the Rotterdam police, they were suppressing the information. They were not acting on what they could see was happening because they did not want to be accused of being racist. And that's the whole thing. The idea was the policy apparently in England was that if you criticize, you say anything, you just point out all this crime or what happened in Rotterdam and honor killings and Sharia and no-go zones, that you're accused of being a racist, and everybody was afraid to speak up. But now that is changing. You're seeing enormous, I mean, big mass demonstrations in England now. That the average people are fed up. They are protesting in numbers too large for the police to shut down. And I believe the same thing is happening. It's either happening in Ireland or it's on the verge of happening in Ireland. But what you're seeing, it's called the preference cascade, and it has the origin was in Romania, when it was communist and Ceausescu and his wife were running the country. Ceausescu was running the country, and you had a secret police. Everybody could be an informer, and everybody hated Ceausescu and the communist government, but were afraid to speak up. And everybody said, well, if I'm just one person, I say something, I'll be arrested, and what's the point? But there was a mass rally. You could find it on YouTube if you look for it, where he's giving a speech, and then somebody says, death to the dictator or something like that. And, oh my God, what's going to happen to that guy? But then another one says, death to the dictator or something similar. And then you have one and another, and then Ceausescu is saying, be quiet, I'm talking, and blah, 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 and you're a troublemaker, whatever. Well, the ultimate result was that everybody started protesting, a preference cascade, because everybody suddenly realized that they weren't the only ones, that everybody was thinking the same thing they were. And ultimate result, Ceausescu was detained, I guess arrested, very quick, like a 1-hour trial, taken out and shot. He and his wife, him and his wife taken out and shot. And that's what I hope no one, I don't expect anyone to go out and be shot in England, but that's what you're seeing, that people are realizing that everybody feels the same. A lot of Britain's, His Majesty's subjects are saying, well, I'm not the only one. So many people feel the same way I do, and you're seeing these mass demonstrations, and the result, you can have the Reform Party is going to win in England. Nigel Farage will be the next prime minister, and you're going to see that. It's going to be interesting getting back. Now, I know what's happening. I don't know what's happening in Austria, whether there's any attempt of suppression, but you can say that there's Herbert Kickl, one of the Kickl, in Vienna, the capital, or at least the big city. I believe that Vienna is also the capital of Austria. You see, Vienna, Austria, 41% of the young student, elementary school students are Muslims, and the non-Muslim students are learning Arabic. Why? Because though the instruction, teaching is in German in the classrooms, when, in the playground or after school, so many of the kids are speaking Arabic to each other that the white kids are having, non-Muslim kids or Christian kids are having to learn Arabic to be able to talk to their classmates. So that's how bad it's getting, and that's why you're seeing this move to the right. And I say amen. It's about time. And that's it for today now, for sure. Again, thanks for stopping by. Subscribe if you can. If you're were able to put up with me this long, you're a good candidate for subscribing. So subscribe, comments always welcome. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.